So hi all, good morning or good evening. I welcome all of you to this webinar series on getting started with SharePoint framework. So the intention behind this webinar series is to cover the basics of SharePoint framework to help you get started with the development and deployment of SharePoint framework. And as it progresses, we will also cover a few of the advanced topics. So here is the agenda for 8 sessions webinar, which we are conducting during this month, that is April 2020. And then we have many speakers lined up to share their knowledge and experience with the community. And today's webinar is being hosted by Prasham Sabadra, and he will share how share the overview of SharePoint framework solutions. And then before I hand over to Prasham, few of the housekeeping things. Like today's webinar is being recorded, and we will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. We welcome all of you to revisit the content yourself and share it with the colleagues. We also invite your comments and questions. If you think of a question for speaker at any given point of time, type it in the chat window, and then we will cover those at the end of the event. Okay, and with this, I'm going to hand over the floor to Prasham, who is ready to start with today's presentation. So Prasham, it's all yours.
Hey Nandip, thank you very much. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it visible?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Hi all, and welcome to this SPFx series. And thanks to Nandip and the team to have this series. It's a great utilization of time of this lockdown. I hope we all are the same. We all are the safe, and we all are at home and taking care of ourselves and our family. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining today's session. In today's session, we'll discuss in the last two sessions, first session from the Kirti and the second session from the Nandip already said the benchmark. So in this session, I'll try to discuss with the solution structure of the SPFx components, including the SPFx web part and the SPFx extension. So let's begin. So myself, Prasham Sabadra. I'm technical architect working in Tier 2 India Private Limited. So I'm passionate SharePoint techie. I'm working on the SharePoint since it's the first version of the SharePoint. Work on the various on-premises version till SharePoint 2013. And then I moved to on the Office 365. So since last 3 to 4 years working on the Office 365 SharePoint Online stuff. So I used to write the blogs on the knowledge-com and recently started with the Live Beautiful Life. I think it was very necessary in this situation. I'm C# Corner MVP 5 consecutive times. So yeah, and there are some my social media contacts if you want to discuss something related to the SharePoint or Office 365 or M365, anything or related to the articles or some issues. So you are always welcome. So these are my LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook handle and email ID there. Okay. So let's start with the creating the SPFx component, and before that SPFx component, I'll just like to revisit the tools used to build this SPFx component. In last session, Nandip already had explained those tools, but still since those are very tightly coupled or related and in sequence, so I'll just quickly go through those or kind of in 5 minutes just kind of thing. So to build the SPFx SharePoint framework components, either it's now the SPFx web part or extension, or now the library components are also available. We required a few tools like the Node.js, which is to use the host our JavaScript files and whatever the files components required for the SPFx components. Then Gulp tool to build, to bundle or to deploy to have those required files. Then Yeoman generator. Yeoman is a tool which allows us to scaffold the projects. With the help of the generator, there are lots of it's a big ecosystem available for the Yeoman generator, including the React and SharePoint. For SPFx component, we will require the Yeoman SharePoint generator, and then the code editor. We have like couple of options there: Visual Studio Code, Atom, WebStorm. I generally prefer to use the Visual Studio Code editor. So in this session, we'll use the Visual Studio Code editor. There are some optional tools are also available, which helps us to debug or check the issues and this kind of thing like Fiddler, Postman, Windows Terminal. There is a Git. In last session, we saw the integration with the Git from the Visual Studio Code. So this is the source control for our components, which is very necessary if we work into the team or so. It's yeah. Then from among those, we in last sessions we already highlighted Node.js, but still I'll go for a bit for Yeoman, which is again an important tool. It's an open source scaffolding tool. Lots of plugins we incorporated or have with this Yeoman source. Yeoman support those. We call it as those as the generators, and which enforce the best practices also and increase our development productivity as well. So this is one of the tools which we are going to use to create our SharePoint framework components. Yeoman. So this relies on npm and Gulp. When we install the Node.js, we saw when we install the in last session we have saw that installation of the Node.js. When we install this, npm will be the part of this Node.js installation. And yeah, so this Yeoman generator relies on the npm and Gulp. This using Yeoman generator we used to scaffold our projects, because if we start from developing from the scratch, it is very difficult to have those files in place in the solution structure. When I'll demonstrate the solution structure, we'll realize that how many in the number of different files in the different folders. Those we need to keep track, and those are in generator in between the build process as well. So it's better to always use some tools which does the scaffolding for us, which enforces the best practices. So yeah, then this SPFx it builds the required project structure as well, and there is this EO command line utility which is used for the creation of project. We could install this Yeoman with the help of npm install -geo. I'm not going to install it because we already saw it into the in the last session. I'll just open the command prompt for creating our project. And then as I mentioned, we could install this Yeoman generator with in this way. But it's already installed on my environment here, and it takes a couple of minutes just to save the time as well. I'm not going to install it. It's already installed on my system. But then to start with the SPFx component, we'll require a specific generator, and for the SPFx component, we have here the SharePoint generator. So we need to install again the SharePoint. Once we have the Yeoman in place, we'll need a SharePoint generator, and that also we could install with the help of the npm. Then get this package manager with this command: npm install -g @microsoft/generator-SharePoint. So this command is required to install the Yeoman SharePoint generator. Similarly, there are the other for other generators also the command available, like npm install -g. I could install the Angular. npm install -g React. These kind of generators available, and this is also one help option is available that I'm going to show you. So if I want to see some like help or something, and if I entered here, so it generates it generates some helps. That is the same. Those are the questions it is asked when we create the SharePoint SPFx component. So if you see here, so this is the component type. So which component type which we are creating. If you remember from the last sessions, or I will show as well when we create the SPFx component. So it's a web part extension or library. So description for the component, the web part extension or name, which framework we are using, no framework or React or Knockout or those are the options available. So these are the these help commands shows all those the options which human generator asks us while creating the SPFx component. The package manager or skip feature deployment, whether it should be immediately available on all sites or not. This kind of the settings. Okay. Then let's start with the create SPFx client-side component. We'll go and we'll start from the scratch to generate how the solution structure is getting created. Here we'll go first for creating the SPFx client-side web part. Then I will demonstrate for creating the SPFx extension, and then I'll also highlight what is the difference when we there is one or two files difference when we create the web part SPFx web part and the extension. The one important file difference. And then I'll also show you what are the common errors we generally have when we go through the build process for this component. To create either any SPFx component, we have to execute U. U is for the human generator, human, and this is for the generator. So if I just type here and let's sorry, it's on my C colon, so it's not option. We'll create one directory. I will cancel this. Yeah, terminate. Yes. Let's create one directory. So I'm creating the SPFx demo directory here, and then I will run this command here. So let's see now. So it started. It is asking for the solution name. So let me give the solution name. SPFx solution structure demo. This is the solution name. Then it is asking me for the target for our components, whether it is a SharePoint online only or 26 onwards or 29 onwards or something. For now, we'll go for only the SharePoint online. Then it asked me whether we need to use the current folder or create a subfolder for solution name. So we already have the separate folder on my C drive, SPFx demo. So we will go with the current folder. And then being able to deploy the solution to all site immediately without running. For now, we'll go with this no. And then it asks for the unique permissions running without. I'll go for again. Sorry, that was the same. I'll hit the enter. And then the next, whether the require permission to access web APIs or something. So we'll again for now we'll go with the no option. Here it asks which type of client-side component we need to create. So web part, extension, and library. For the first thing, we will go with the web part option. So I'm just hitting enter because it is web part selected. Otherwise, we could have the arrow keys to move around as well. So let's create the web part first. What is your web part name? So we have given the solution name SPFx solution structure demo. Just have in mind these names. Those are used in the files as well. So I'll just give the web part name is SPFx all WP. SPFx solution structure web part. Let's get description. Demo of SPFx solution structure. Here there is option no JavaScript framework, React, and Knockout. So here also we'll create two web parts. First web part we will create with the no JavaScript framework. I just need to show which file is created when we select this no JavaScript framework, and when we select, say for example, any framework, say React, then which extra file is getting added. I want to show to that. So first web part we will create with the new JavaScript framework. Just hit enter for the first option, and it started. So this human generator also downloads the required packages just to build this. So it started, and yeah, it's downloading and the scaffolding the solution structure and the preparing the solution structure. So installs the required dependencies. So till the time it takes the 1 or 2 minutes, couple of minutes to do all those things. So till the time it does, I'll just discuss the why it's very necessary to understand the solution structure for these components. In the last session, there was the questions as well, like related to the project or the solution, when to use when to use the multiple project, or we should have the multiple web parts in one project, or create a different project. So it's really very necessary to understand this solution structure. What are the different modes when we have the ship modes or when we have the debug mode. So at that time, those files are not get shipped. Yeah. Yeah. So if you see now, once this is the message like solution SPFx solution structure demo is created. So it's created now. So I'll open this here. If I'll give you the command like code dot, it will open for me the Visual Studio Code with this folder where we have the whole solution structure here. Let's see. Yes. Now, if you see this, this is the whole SPFX demo. That folder is getting created, and this is the solution structure are created. To have the first high level, we have different folders here called config, node modules, SRC, teams. Then there is one JSON file. I'll show you what this JSON file contains as well. Then Gulp file JS, which is the task runner for the human or for this our SPFX components. Then there is this packages files, package.json, what it contains. README files, if we want, it contains all the descriptions of the, like if I open it, so this kind of description, what this folder contains, that we are going to discuss. And if we have to have something for our component as well for the description. And then these two files, tsconfig.json and tslib. So to start with, the most important folder in this is this like SRC folder, where we are going to do our code there, or where we are going to add our files or edit our files and our component resides. So now, if you saw that, if you notice that we have created the web part. So under the SRC folder, the web parts folder is getting created. And under web part folder, this SPFx solution structure web part, this is the name which we have given to the our web part. If you remember there, so that's why I mentioned that. Just remember the names what we are giving there. So under web parts, SPFX solution strwb. So if I create another web part, if I run the same command here, so for example, if I go here and if I run this again, the human SharePoint generator, it will add, and whatever the name I'll give to the web part, it will add one more folder of that name here, and then contain the required files which are required for our this web part. So it will be under this web parts folder. Now when I'm going to create the extensions, it creates the extensions folder here. I'm going to show you that when we create the extensions. So this is the one of the important folder where we are going to have the structure for our the component. Now, what this SPFX solution structure web part or this SPFX components? Two main important files again in this. All files are important, but the two very important file. One is this SPFX solution strwebpart.ts file. This is the TypeScript file. This is the one of the language superset of JavaScript which we required for the SPFx components. This is the strongly coupled, tightly coupled TypeScripts. So yeah. And then another important file is the manifest.json. Please notice here the file naming convention as well. So this is also important when we create for like our live projects or the customer projects to give the naming convention. So the name which we have given here like SPFX solution strwp, but then you mean this again added the web part there. See this, and that's why explicitly I have given this WP to show you, because this is again important to naming our files. The same thing for the web part TypeScript file where we are going to write the logic of our web part or code for our web part. So if you notice here, this SPFX solution strwp, and it again added the webpart.ts file. So please be careful while giving the naming of to the your component, giving the namings to your components. Okay. This is a CSS file. So let's begin with this TypeScript file, because here we are going to actually do the code, and we all developers love to do the code. So with this file, start with the class name SPFX solution str web part. All the SharePoint client side web parts are derived from the base client side web part class. So this class we are going to import from the package this SP web part. See this also notice this import base client side web part from Microsoft SP web part base. So this class remains in this package, and we need to import it. All it get by default get imported. We no need to do anything, but just to for our knowledge, all SPFX client side web parts components are derived from this base client side web part, and which supports or allows to implement this web part properties interface. What does interface? That we will discuss shortly. Just to go ahead, this our class this export keyword is also important. Just to go ahead, this we need to import this method. We need to override this method render. And one of the beauty of this here is wherever you hover, you will get some details like if I over the base client side web part, you will see this abstract class implements the base functionality for client side web parts. So every client side web part need to init. So these are the very nice things. So if I over here on the render method, if you see this, there is no base implementation. So whatever the description for these methods, or there is one more method called get property pane configuration. I'll discuss this. What is this method? But then it shows me the description just to have the basic understanding. This render method is responsible for rendering the whatever our web parts want to show onto the page. Basically, it renders the DOM in the DOM element, and here our DOM element is the div. So here, if you notice this, or if you have already worked here, there is no TSX file, and that's why I said we'll create two web parts. When this web part we created with the no JavaScript framework option. It doesn't include any TSX file. So when we create the web part with the framework selected as a React, it add one more folder here, components and the TSX files and the required files that we'll discuss when we create another web part. So this render method is the important method of our client-side web part class, where all our logic goes, whether we need to call any service, Ajax service or REST service or Graph APIs or whatever code we need to do or whatever functionality we need to implement. Everything goes under this render element. Here in this web part, we are directly returning it as a div, so it will get directly render. When we add this web part on the page, it will get directly render with this whatever the text mentioned here. Okay. Next, another important method is this get property pane configuration, which implement the iProperty file configuration. These are the properties of the SPFx client-side web part component. If we have work on the visual web parts or on the some previous on-premises web part, we could have the lots of we could have the web part properties. So in this similar way, we have the properties for the client-side web part. Currently, there is only one property called the description that I'll show when we'll deploy this web part on the site. So if you need to add the custom properties to our client side, this SPFx web part component, then we need to have add the here in this method, and then we need to add other properties into this interface. Because yeah, here say for example, this component has the description is the only web part property. So, and if you see here, here is the only this description. So this is the one of the important method where we are going to do all the code, where we are going to build our logic. And yes, then there is another important file. This rather than going CSS or LOC folder, I'll discuss first the important components and important files. This manifest.json file. This contains the metadata for our SPFx component, SPFx web part. One important is the ID of this web part. This ID must be the unique for all our web parts into the solution, or even in the other solution which is deployed in our tenant. This also please remember. So this is the unique ID. There is some point as well, but I'll discuss that lastly related to this ID when we'll see some common errors or the errors occurs while building or deploying this SPFx component. Then this is the name which we have given to our solution, SPFx solution structure web part given to the web part, and then this is web part identity, component type. So if you see here the component type, those are either the extensions, library, or web part. So currently we have the web part. Then this manifest version, this again important point, and it's like this is controlled by the completely Microsoft. If you have work on the previous versions of the SPFx, there you might have noticed there the value is the 1, and now is the now it's a 2. So don't change to this value. It is completely managed by the Microsoft. And even on the description also it's mentioned that the value of this field is controlled by the Microsoft. So we are not going to touch it. Required custom script false. If it is a true, then this component will be installed only on the sites where the custom script is allowed. This also we need to keep in mind. Currently supported host is the SharePoint web part. This is the same we will give. And then one of the again some pre-configured entries. These are the group. This is the group ID for the other group. There are a predefined 7 groups are available. So, and if our web part or our component doesn't fall into any group, we'll give this ID. This is the ID for the other. These pre-configured properties are used to set the default values into the web part toolbox. Let me open the site now. It's time to open the site and to show you something like. I'll just demonstrate what is the toolbox. This is the another SPFx component yesterday when I'm preparing for this session, so I deployed it. But let me show you something here. So when I click on this add new web part in column, this is the web part toolbox. This is you could match with the on-premises with the web part gallery theme when we click add, and that those options games. But now for this modern site or the modern pages, you won't see any group. Like here we are saying that the default group is other. So if you expect like here the group names came, what is the other, or my customer name, my customer to identify my custom components, or implemented for my production version or test version, my production group, my test group, that doesn't work here. But those works on the classic site that I'm going to show you as well. Let me show you one thing. I have created one classic team site. Yeah, team site. And if here I have again added the symbol. This is also important difference to know. If I go and edit this page, let me go from here. It won't allow me from there. Okay. And when I insert a web part, here I have deployed for one of the custom groups a knowledge junction SPFx components. And here you will see those categories as a categories or as a group. So these pre-configured properties, those work. What I am trying to say here, those are work for the currently classing sites only. Okay. So here I'm seeing, okay, here my customer components, here my production components, here my test components, and all those things we could see on the group. If we have a still, if we are using classic site, or we have customer have the lots of existing classic sites, and where we need to add these our client side components. So this is the basic difference here, and important difference here. There are other properties as well. Hide from install or something. I don't have the exact property name, but we could hide by adding users allowed to add here. So we could hide from here as well. So that was one property. Then another important property is the Office Fabric icon font name. And this is the page. So there are the predefined icons, fabric icons, which Microsoft has provided us, which we can use. Here you see these are the different icons here. And for our component, if you see, our component is SPFx, yeah, SPFx demo part. So this is the page component. So each component, those are we could use these icons to represent our components here on modern page. So we could for like if we are implementing with the customers or the production version, we could use the icon which is not used here, just to identify these are our custom components for our customer or for our production version or the test version. So there is the list of these icons available on the site, which I have included into the reference sections of this presentation. So if you go there, so these are the Fulton icons. You would go visit these sites and you will get what are the different icons available for my SPFx component. And we could use those components. There is another way, one more way actually. If I go again, there is one more property called icon image URL, something like that, where we could specify our custom icon as well. The full URL, which is either uploaded on the CDN or in my site somewhere, which has all the users have the permissions, at least read-only permissions. So to icon image URL, we could specify the full image URL if we want our custom icon there. But then in that case, this is getting ignored. So this is very important file. Please note that this ID, at least the unique ID, should be there across all the solutions deployed in my tenant, which contains the SPFx component. And in required whether custom scripts or not, or these pre-configured properties there, whether I want to hide this component by adding the users, or I want to use different icon, or and there are other properties as available. That is the list, but please have a look once. And this is the descriptions for my component. Okay. Now, if I go to the Illusive folder, so this is the key value pair there used for the localization purpose, and this TS file which contains the interface, this SPFx solution structure part web part strings. So if we need to add the new string, or if suppose here, if you see here, this is the property name description. We are going to add the new property, say my web part title. I just want to configure it from the web part property. So we need to include here as well, and then we need to update the interface as well to have that. And then we could use this into our component. Okay. So these are the important files in SRC folder. Let me go to the PPT. I missed somewhere in SRC folder. Yeah. So this is the SRC folder, place where we added our codes. These are the properties. As we discuss, please notice the naming conventions for the file, because your main generator also adds its site. And yeah. Okay. So let's move to this manifest file. This contains the metadata, pre-configure entries, and in the manifest version that we are not going to touch in any way. Otherwise, it will break the component. Now, next move to this lib folder. Currently here there is, if you notice, there is no lib. So let me go and build this component. We'll quickly deploy as well to show you the different folders again, which are important to understand. So let's have a terminal open. I'll use Gulp. Let's just check whether my Gulp is working. Yeah, it's working. I'll use the command Gulp build. It will take a couple of minutes, but since we have only one component here, only one web part here, it will get finished soon. I'm running this Gulp bundle into the ship mode. So please remember what it does when we discuss the other files at the time we'll discuss. But just notice now the command Gulp bundle -- ship. It works without -- ship as well. And that was the debug mode when we run the command Gulp serve. Okay, it worked. Gulp package solution. Now, meanwhile, when it builds the package, if you notice here, the two folders are get added. Now the SharePoint folder is also there, the temp folder is also there. So please notice this dist folder, this lib folder, temp folder, and the one more SharePoint folder. So what these lib folders contains? So lib folders under the web part, these are the files are this created. So if we see here, there is called map file, CSS file for our, and the JS file. So these are the intermediate files which are ready to get added into or ready to get into distributed with our application, our app. So this contains we know actually we nothing to, as a developer we nothing to do with these files, but just for understanding, it is the intermediate between our Gulp bundling and the deployment. So if I go to the again presentation just to discuss, yeah. So this serves as an intermediate folder which contains the files which are ready to move to our bundle and which will be distributed with our app. And these files, JS files, our TypeScript file, if you notice that our TS files will get compiled into the JavaScript file in this folder, in the lib folder. And these map files are used for basically to support the browser, to debugging into the browser. Okay. So this is the one of the folder. Then the next another folder which I would like to discuss is the dist folder. So if you notice here, it contains the two files, and these are get distributed with our app as well. One is the manifest.json file. Please notice this GUID which is getting added with this file. This is the GUID of the web part, which is into the manifest file, and then this is one of the minified version of the JS file. So dist folder. So these files, this folder contains the files which will be distributed with our app, with our SPFx component. Okay. Now, I'm not going to deploy this web part till now. Let's go to the again another important folder, the config file. Config folder. This config folder contains the set of config files which are required while building and deploying our SPFx component. And one file, this config.js. So we are going to discuss each and every file, but let's start with this config.js file. So if you notice here, it contains this start with these bundles. which indicates that whatever the components which we have in our solution, those will get added here. So if you notice this is our web part. This is the name for the bundle. This is this bundles is the set of bundles or nothing but our components. This is the name of the bundle. We can change this, but then I would recommend it. Best practice is don't touch it again. Don't change it. It may break the component. It contains the two entries. One is the entry point and one is the manifest file. So entry point is the where our solution entry is in the leaf folder, which is intermediate folder, the files which are ready to added into the bundle or ready to added into to distribute with our component. So this is that file, and in the manifest file, which contains the required metadata for our web part, our component. It also contains some external currently, like for example, we have the jQuery module. So it will contain the path for that as well. But currently we don't have anything external library available. So it's empty. And in the localized resources files, which are like in the LOC folder. So this is that the config.js. Let me have some description as well here. So config.json file, which lists out the files which are to be included into the bundle, including the solution components, external references, external libraries, and the localization resources. Now the next file that we will, I'll discuss these other files as well, but let's discuss with this package-solution.json file. It contains related to details the solution. This is the name which we have given while creating the solution, SPFx solution structure demo, and then it is get added by the generator. This is the solution ID, whether we need to include our assets or not, true or false. And then again, the important thing is it generates the SPFx package. So when we run this command, this final command, when we run this package-solution ship, it generates the SPFx, that package file, into the folder. So this is the SPFx solution structure demo, the package name. This package name we could change whatever the package name which we need to give it. So that was the package-solution.json file. Serve.json. I'll come back on this serve.json when we'll add the extension. This file is basically for debugging the extension. When we add the extension, this file get edited completely. So when we'll add the extension, I'll show again. We'll discuss this file again. And then another important file, right, manifest.json file, which contains the CDN path. So this is the CDN based path is the folder in our share. So there are three options actually. CDN content delivery network. So wherever these files which are distributed with our SPFx component, those we need to upload somewhere. So either we have the option of the Office 365 CDN, whether it is a public CDN or the private CDN. We have the option of the Azure CDN, or we could use any SharePoint site as well, where all those files are get uploaded. So basically here we need to give to the path to that location here. So for example, here, if I'm now suppose we need to deploy this folder, we need to create one folder. We'll go with the now with the SharePoint site which we have. So if I have this one document library, say for example CDN, and there is another folder, or I had previously my components uploaded into this document library already, or in created folder again. So if I create, say for example, create a new folder today, SPFx solution structure demo, and we need to apply which files we need to apply. Those files are get here into the temp into the deploy folder. So these are the files which are when we bundle. Now here the ship mode also comes into the picture. So if you see here, I'm just showing the command again here, this Gulp bundle --ship. So when we execute these commands, so these required files, those are and with the --ship parameter, those required files get copied into the folder called temp and under it deploy. So these files we need to copy or we need to upload on our CDN location files. Okay, if we don't use this --ship option, these files are not get copied into, it gets successfully bundled but not get copied into this folder. And then when we try, because there is a issue came when once I forgot to specify this --ship, and then there are the several issues when I try to deploy the component. That error I will show you in the last part of the session. So let's have this revealing file explorer temp deploy. Let's copy this. I'm uploading here. I'm giving this path. We need to upload all the files there. So these are the files which are generated for one of our SPFx component which we have created. Okay, and this CDN path we need to give into the in the file which is into the config folder, which is the file write-manifest.json. So if I copy here, for example, CDN like this, I need to give this folder name as well. So if it is, I hope I could copy it. No. Okay, I'll type it. SPFx source demo. I hope it is correct. Yep. So in this way. If we have Office 365 CDN, then that path we need to give, because when we have the Office 365 CDN in place, we need to enable the tenant level CDN and then the URL get changed. In case of private CDN, the URL remains the same, but in case of the public CDN, the URL get changed, because then these folders where we are uploading the is files, the public access get authorization doesn't happen there. It's anonymous access. So that you are so, and when we have to use the Azure CDN, then we need to use this one deploy-azure storage dot this JSON file, where we need to give the storage account details and the, yeah, from where we need to copy these files to the storage, and all those details here we need to give when we have the Azure CDN. But for now, I'm just showing you we are using the SharePoint site where one document library. This don't confuse with this CDN. This is the document library name. So it's nothing but the document library. Underneath we have created one folder called SPFx solution structure demo, and we are using that path. Okay. So these are the config files. Let me go to the PPT again. This package.solution JSON file which we discuss, where we specify the package file name which we upload to the app catalog. Let me show you the app catalog as well. Whenever we need to upload these components with the app catalog, so those will be available to our sites. So for example, if I'm going to the admin center, my Office 365 admin center, I'll go to the SharePoint admin center. Underneath SharePoint admin center, there is some more features, apps, where we are going to configure these apps. So I'm opening it. It opens tenant admin app.aspx page, and we'll go to the app catalog. So here I already created a site collection from the app catalog. So with the name app catalog. So this site is already here. And this site app catalog site contains one library called the apps for SharePoint, where we upload our packages. So, and where this package file is getting created, this is under the SharePoint folder, under the solution. if you notice, if you observe this package -solution.json file, there is a zip package. It is the path given solution. This folder is underneath this SharePoint folder, the solution, and from where we open the package. So let's have it. I'll just upload for now. I'll get copied. Let's upload. Sorry, SPFx demo, SharePoint solution, and this package file. Yeah. So this is just like a dialogue to have the trust. One more important point here, I'd like to highlight this. We are not deploying at the tenant level now. Otherwise, here will checkbox games and our CDN path comes and ask us, okay, this is get deployed at the tenant level and anything. But we are just now go ahead and deploy this. Okay, so if you notice this, please see the any error message or there or not. App packages error message, no errors. This attribute tenant deployed is no. So how to enable tenant deployed? Then there is again the different property we need to specify. But let's continue with this now. Okay, so this get deployed the successfully. Okay. Then there is this right to discuss this deploy Azure storage when we use the Azure CDN. At that time, this file is used, and where we need to specify the storage account details. This serve.json file, as I mentioned, when we create the extension, we will discuss it. Now, before creating the extension, there are some files which are created under the root folder. So for example, this is SPFx demo is our root folder. If I minimize this config, dist, temp, so there are some files like gulp file.js file, package-log.json, package.json, tsconfig.json, and the tslint.json. So what this gulp file.json file, it is a task runner for our components, and it just makes sure that it required the library and it required the gulp that will be installed in our environment. Then I will discuss this package.json file, which contains all the JavaScript libraries, and those are their dependencies which are required by our solution or our component. So this just list out, okay, this package I required, this package I required, and with their respective versions. Then there are these two files. Again, I would say please don't touch these files. Keep them as it is, but just for knowledge, TS configuration file. This is the file required by the TypeScript for its compilation. These TS files are get compiled into the JavaScript file. So for it, it required TS config file, and then there is a tslint file. This is again required for the TypeScript style checking settings. But we are not anyway going to touch those files. There is some I would like to share one thing. This one I guess tslint.json file, which was previously into the folder of the config folder till the 1.5 version of the SharePoint framework or something, and then that file is get moved from next subsequent version. That file is get moved to the root folder. So in case if some of our or from our side, if we are still using the old version and then we update to the new version, and this tslint file that was available into the config folder as well, our component get break. It gives some error. I'll show it use in the again last section of this session, but just to FYI for all of us. Okay, now okay, so now let's create one extension. We have created the one web part with no framework. Now let's create one extension. So just to create again extension, I'm going to hit the command yeoman generator, yeoman SharePoint generator. I hit already, and we'll select the component type as extension here. And one important file difference which I like to discuss that we are going to discuss. So I'm here selecting the extension, hitting enter. Then there are three type of extensions which we could create. I won't go the much details now here. I'll go as it is for the application customizer. Enter. What is your application customizer name? Say, sorry, extension solution demo or something. Demo, and it gets started. Here, one more thing, please remember here, or the important point notice, this extension is getting added to the same project or the same solution structure which we have created, because we are into the same folder. So let's see how the folder structure now into the Visual Studio Code and the files as well. But then this is again important point to notice. Okay, it get created successfully. So if I go to now the Visual Studio, refresh, no need to refresh as well. But let's see. If I go to the SRC folder, please notice this extensions folder is getting added there. Okay, under this extensions folder, there is our folder called extension solution demo. And there is this again the important file, two important files. One is the JSON and the TS file. TS file where we are going to code our. These all three type of extensions are derived from the three different classes. We have this application customizer extension, so which is derived from this base application customizer class. So this is the base class for our application customizer extension. And important method to note is this into the onIt method where our actual code goes here. So this is the basic extension which we created. It just when we deploy this extension, it just shows this debug.alert and whatever the message. But in other file, as we discussed, we'll discuss that. I'm going to have this serve.json. I hope it is updated. Now, if you notice this, when previously we opened this serve.json file, that was the only till this point. But now if you notice this, the node is getting added like the server configuration, and then this is our extension name which we have given, extension solution name. So where this serve.json file is used, this is the extension this is the file used to debug the extension on my modern site pages, because by default it was not supported for the extensions. So here we need to specify here like this default, this is for the common, and then it lists all the extensions which we are going to create in our solution. So this is the custom action ID. This is the GUID for my extension. If I go to the extension manifest file, notice this GUID. This is the same GUID which is getting updated to the serve.json file. So when I need to debug the extension, I'll require the entry here. When we create, suppose we created the next extension, this next extension is getting added here, comma, and our extension name. This is the page URL where we need to give where we are going to use to debug our extension. Okay, but then suppose, for example, now if we have the multiple extensions in my solution, then how to specify which extension I need to debug? So there is a command I will show you. There is a command called when we do the gulp serve config equal to name. So we need to execute this command to specify the extension name which I need to debug. So for example, in our case, let's see, I'll just copy paste this, control C, just to demonstrate. Don't do this. And this is our say new or something like that. We have the two extensions in our solution, and then I need to debug either this old one or this one. Let's say we need to debug this, then we need to have the command like get capital get some minus config equal to my extension name. So when I run this gulp serve command for this to debug this extension, this my extension which is specified that we will start the debugging. So this is the file used to debug the SPFx extensions on the modern pages. Human generator adds these entries by default whenever we generate the extension with this our human SharePoint generator. And human generator by default create new entry for in this file. Okay, so that was this related to the serve.json file, which is under the config folder. Yeah, these are the config folders files which we are discussing. So this is related to the serve.json. Okay, used for debugging the extension. I'll just now remove this. Might be I'll break this now. I'll do Control Z. Okay, that's good. Okay, now I'll just going to create one more web part. I know it's time running away. I need to discuss the couple of issues as well. Those are important to understand, but I'm just going to create one more web part with the React framework to show which files are getting created, the TSX files and the component folder, just to demonstrate. So let's hit the command again. And now I'm going to select the option React framework. So please notice that web part. Giving any name which I could think now. Here is the important point, which framework would you like, and I'm creating with the React. Yeah, let's see, it will get finished soon. Meanwhile, I'll show one more thing. This meanwhile it creates the web part for us. This human generator JSON file. So it contains the detail. We didn't change this file, just for the FYI. It contains the same details. Here one more place it get created under repository or somewhere. Let me check. No. Okay, anyway, but it contains the details like in which environment and what is the SPFx, like the version of the environment and all those things. Okay, it's still creating. It may download the packages which we required for the React. So still it created. I'll go to one of the slides to discuss this. These are the few issues which face, and we very rarely found the solutions. It took us the time to solve those issues. So I'd like to just highlight here. So whenever you implement SPFx components or extension, and if you could face these kind of issues, those are handy. One important point: notice the web part ID here. So sometimes we have the issues like string does not match the pattern of something. So what is the scenario here? Generally, what happens here, we are creating the another web part using the human generator. But generally, what happens in the team, I have observed somewhere these folders are get copy paste. So for example, if I am going to the SRC folder under my web parts, I need to add one more web part, say here SPFx or something like that. So we copy paste copy paste the folder and do the changes there. That was not the best practice, even though it works with the naming changes and all those things. But sometime when we generate the ID with the Visual Studio or the Visual Studio that ID generator tool, it get differentiated. It shows sometimes the capital letter or something. But if you notice, there is a warning as well. It warning comes as well. If you notice, this is the regular expressions for the IDs which will be used only for those will be matched with these regular expressions. Those IDs will be used only for the SPFx client-side web part component and the extensions. So those are like all the alpha alphabets which are the small, must be in the small letter, because while copy pasting we did the mistake, like we created the GUID and the paste as it is. So it contains some capital letters, and behind this kind of things, it must be between A to F. So please remember this with the matching giving regular expression. That was one kind of error. One more error came like component ID 0 exists into the solution 1 already and having some correlation ID. This error comes when we deploy the solution into the app catalog. So as we saw, when we upload the SPFx package file and say hit the deploy button there, at that time this error hit us. So here also there are this error comes for the multiple reason. One of the reason is while copy pasting there is the duplicate ID for the web part or the extension, or another team has like copy pasted and they have, even though they have the different solution but the same ID, because since we are deploying those into the same app catalog, it won't work. And one more important point I'll need to highlight, there is a one list called client side component manifest list. So if I take the URL for that, that list is available into the app catalog site. Let me show you. I hope I could point it out correctly. Yes, component manifest. This is the name. So let's hit enter. If you notice this list contains all my components which we have deployed into this app catalog site for my tenant, and there this manifest or the metadata available and this component IDs. So sometime if you face this error, it's okay to clean up this list. So we could have like select and delete all those things. So it's a kind of fresh again the installation. So this is the list, hidden list. This is the hidden list called the component manifest. Okay, so that was one again the error which we face, and while Google lots of developers have this error as well. Then which one error where we are discussing, there are the two modes when we have like one is the debug mode and one is the ship mode when we use the ship attribute. So we have error kind of this, the web part manifest is empty. Please ensure you have done build and that you config. This error came when we are packaging the solution. So when I hit the command like gulp package hyphen solution hyphen hyphen ship, at that time this error came. Generally, if you notice, the error comes while building the solution or while bundling the files or the solution. Package hyphen solution, very rarely we get error, but this error comes when we package the solution. And this was the error because temp, this folder was empty. If I go to the solution, this temp folder, deploy folder was empty. There were no files because we didn't use, or by mistake I forgot to use the ship attribute while running the bundle command. So gulp bundle hyphen hyphen ship. So I used to forgot, I forgot the ship attribute there. So that kind of whilst packaging, this kind of error comes. And that I discussed the tslint.json file. The location is moved, I guess, from 1.6 version of the SPFx. So which is now into the root folder. But in case if you have like error JSON validation failed and it shows the tslint.json, please notice if this file is not available into the config folder. This should be now, if we are using the latest version of the SPFx, it should be available on the root. Okay. Okay. Let's move a couple of more minutes. This web part is created with the React framework. Let's go to the solution structure again. Here, if you notice now, there are the web parts folder under SRC, and these now there are the two folders. One is the demo React framework, which I have given the name, and then SPFX solution. This one, first one which we created. And if you notice here, the components folder, these are the folder for having the React components, and this is the TSX files. So this render method is getting called from the render method of our web part TypeScript file. If I go to the web part class, so here one React component is getting created with whatever the React component which we have. Please notice here this render method. Okay, so this is just to show when we create with the React framework. So when for the React components, one folder is getting created and this TSX folder where this now the DOM rendering code is get moved. previously in our first component, it was directly into our TS file, TypeScript file, because which is created with the no JavaScript solution. So just to highlight this here. Okay, I'm almost done with this solution structure. I hope you learned something, a couple of new points or something. In the reference sections, I try to add some important references. So please have a look. And again, thank you so much for attending these sessions. We could go for the Q&A if you have some questions, answers, or yeah, Nandi, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prasham. That was very
Just one
much.
sec. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Nandi. Sorry, forgot to next session. This is again very interesting session. Very much from the expert Vijay from Vijay Natarajan on the 15th on Wednesday, deploying and shipping SPFx solution. So please join. Very interesting and yeah, informative session again. Thank you so much. Hand over to Nandi.
Yeah, thank you, Prasham. That was very much informative. We got a glimpse of what exactly each file corresponds to. And then we are very much grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experience with us. So thank you very much. I will stop the recording and